They are really making it look like a professional basketball team is trying to silence anyone who speaks out. The situation in Indianapolis has reached a new level, with the Indiana Fever facing more criticism than ever before and struggling to handle the pressure. Instead of fixing the team's on-court problems, the organization has been targeting independent creators, blocking sports media figures online, and has now gone even further by removing longtime insider reporter Scott Agness. This is no longer just a local issue because many believe it has become one of the biggest press freedom stories in women's basketball. Scott Agness is not just another blogger. He is a highly respected independent journalist who has covered both the Indiana Fever and Indiana Pacers through his Fieldhouse Files newsletter since 2013. For 13 years, he has reported on championships, draft picks, major injuries, blockbuster trades, and every important moment in Indiana basketball. He is the longest-serving writer currently covering the Pacers and the Fever, and his work attracted more than 7.3 million views over the past year, while building a loyal subscriber base across 49 states and 83 countries. Despite his long record of trusted reporting, the franchise has now chosen to push him aside, leaving many fans and media members questioning the organization's actions.
Crashing out right now. They don't know what to do. They are under more heat than they have ever been under, and they are breaking under the pressure. They're going after content creators. They're blocking sports media personalities online, and they just fired Scott Agness, who was an insider reporter. We got to get into it. Keep the vision. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share the channel, hit that bell notification and hype the video. Let's get right.
The Indiana Fever informed Scott Agness through an email that his media credentials had been revoked, cutting off his access to games, practices, press conferences, and all team events. According to many critics, this happened because he reported what he believed was the truth about Caitlin Clark's injury, describing it as part of a strategic management plan rather than simply repeating the team's explanation. They argue the organization did not want that perspective shared publicly. The timeline has become a major point of debate. On May 20th, the Fever were set to play the Portland Fire at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, and Caitlin Clark was not listed on the official injury report before the game. Many fans had purchased expensive tickets expecting to watch her play, but only about 100 minutes before tip-off, the team suddenly announced that Clark would not play because of a back injury.
They said it was due to the spread of inaccurate and unsubstantiated information, and cited my tweet about Caitlin Clark being ruled out 100 minutes before they defeated the Portland Fire on May 20th. So they're mad that he let it be known that Caitlin Clark wasn't going to be playing. Here it says, Fever PR briefly spoke with me before the game to ask about the tweet and state that they believed it was false. However, there was no meeting or further conversation before the decision to revoke my credentialed access was communicated to me. In my response, I told the organization that I stand by my reporting and the intent behind it.
According to Fieldhouse Files, Caitlin Clark's late scratch was part of a strategic management plan between Clark and the team because of her ongoing back issue and her history of soft tissue injuries that caused her to miss 31 games in 2025. Supporters of Scott Agness argue that this report matched the available facts. Clark has publicly acknowledged her back problem, saying it can flare up quickly, and head coach Stephanie White also said it would be something the team would continue to manage. The Fever had previously received attention over their injury reporting practices, adding more scrutiny to the situation. Instead of offering more details, the organization accused Agness of sharing inaccurate and unverified information before revoking his media credentials. Agness later said the team's public relations staff briefly spoke with him before the game to say they believe his report was false, but soon afterward, he received an email removing his access to games and team events without any formal meeting or chance to explain his reporting. After covering the organization for 13 years, Agness publicly stood by his reporting and said it was shared in good faith. The decision sparked criticism from many who believe it raises serious concerns about press freedom in the WNBA. They argue that as the league enters a major period of financial growth with its new media rights deal, independent reporters must be able to report without worrying that honest coverage could cost them their access and ability to do their jobs. This is not a minor issue because it goes to the heart of sports journalism. Beat reporters provide value because they have access that regular fans do not. They attend practices, cover press conferences, build trusted sources over many years, and report what they learn from being around the team every day. If organizations begin taking away media access simply because they dislike a reporter's coverage, it becomes much harder for fans to receive honest and accurate information. Similar disputes have happened in other major sports leagues, including the NBA and NFL, but many believe this case stands out because Scott Agnes's reporting appears to have been supported by the available facts. The WNBA had already raised concerns about the Fever's injury reporting. Caitlin Clark's back issue was publicly known, and describing her absence as part of a strategic management approach was viewed by many as consistent with the team's handling of her condition. Even so, the Fever chose to revoke his credentials, leading critics to question the organization's motives and raising broader concerns about transparency and media access.
This is crazy. Ben Daniels took to Twitter and said, damn, they really threw Scott on the guillotine. To his credit, if not for him, that ankle injury from last season would still be an unknown, and Aaliyah's meniscus would remain a leg injury. At the end of the day, he just knew too much. Fever had to tie up loose ends. Ben Daniels, you spot on, my brother. Ben Daniels, you are spot on, my brother. Scott Agnes knew too much.
Commentator Ben Daniels reacted on social media by saying the Fever had made Scott Agnes the target of harsh punishment. He argued that without Agnes's reporting, Caitlin Clark's serious ankle injury from last season might never have been fully understood, and Aaliyah Boston's meniscus tear could have remained described only as a vague leg injury. Daniels suggested that Agnes had built a strong reputation for reporting accurate medical updates and believed that was one reason the organization wanted to remove his access. Jason Whitlock also criticized the Fever's front office, claiming the team was trying to damage Agnes's career because of his reporting on Caitlin Clark's back injury and the way the organization handled the situation.
Take a look at what Jason Whitlock had to say on this. Jason Whitlock said the Fever are trying to put Scott Agnes out of business because they mishandled Caitlin Clark's back injury. Rather than admit their mistake, punish a man who has provided them nothing but favorable coverage. These aren't serious people. It's a cult. The Indiana Fever organization are moving crazy. They can't handle the heat that they're in right now. They can't handle it, y'all. They can't handle this heat. They're running.
Jason Whitlock argued that instead of admitting they had mishandled the situation, the Fever chose to punish a reporter who had spent years covering the team. He strongly criticized the organization, saying it was not acting like a professional franchise. Pat McAfee has also been mentioned by critics who want him to comment on the controversy, with some accusing the front office of trying to control the narrative. Professional sports teams do have the right to manage media access and can deny credentials to reporters they believe have acted unfairly or published false information. However, critics argue that removing credentials is typically reserved for serious misconduct, not for reporting that the team simply disagrees with. Scott Agnes built trusted relationships with sources over many years, especially regarding player health, and some believe this decision sends a message that sharing accurate information with reporters could have consequences. Critics warn that this could discourage future sources from speaking openly, making it harder for fans to receive reliable information about the team. The controversy has drawn support for Agnes from many members of the sports media, with several well-known journalists and outlets criticizing the Fever's decision and questioning its impact on transparency, especially given the attention surrounding Caitlin Clark and the organization.
Take a look at this. Scott Agnes said, I attend every Fever training camp practice this season, every home game, every playoff game over the last several years. I write almost daily, produce regular videos and podcasts. I'm a frequent guest on radio stations across the country. I also invested in additional coverage for fans 3 years ago by hiring a photographer for select games. I'm the longest tenured writer currently covering the Pacers or Fever. My work received more than 7.3 million views in the last 12 months. I have Substack subscribers across 49 states.
Caitlin Clark's health has become one of the biggest stories in women's professional basketball because every time she misses a game, appears on an injury report, or receives treatment during a game, it can influence ticket sales, television ratings, betting activity, merchandise sales, and overall interest in the WNBA. Fans who spend their money to attend games or watch broadcasts expect accurate and timely injury updates so they can make informed decisions. Critics argue that Scott Agness provided that information, but instead of addressing the concerns, the Indiana Fever chose to revoke his media credentials. Since the WNBA had already raised concerns about the team's injury reporting practices, many believe this latest decision deserves further review. They argue the league should carefully examine the situation, that journalists should support the importance of independent reporting, and that the Fever should recognize that restricting media access does not end public scrutiny or questions about transparency.
Support your readership and your trust. Scott Agness, the Indiana Fever, are attempting to put him out of business because he let us know about Caitlin Clark's back injury. He let us know about Caitlin Clark's ankle injury that they were never going to tell us about. He let us know that it was Aaliyah Boston's meniscus, not some random leg injury. The Indiana Fever playing dirty. They don't know what to do. They can't handle the heat. Get down in the comments. Let me know what you think. This is Keep the Vision. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share the channel.
This is the type of controversy that WNBA Pro aims to cover by holding organizations accountable and supporting independent journalism. If you enjoy honest basketball discussions and in-depth coverage, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Share your opinion in the comments and let everyone know whether you think the WNBA should step in and review the Indiana Fever's decision to revoke Scott Agness's media credentials, or if you believe it should remain an internal team matter. Turn on notifications as well, because this story is still developing and we'll continue following every major update as it unfolds.